Hello, I'm Ben. Welcome to the channel. So today we're going to talk about money. I don't usually do a lot of videos on money specifically. I'll talk about business sometimes, and I'll talk about a little bit of everything. You know, Jesus and the Bible is the primary focus of the channel just because more people need to know about salvation and about their future. And so money is a part of that future. And if you start doing the right things at a young age, it's easier to live and get older. The faster you produce bad habits, or the faster you allow yourself to be forced in a corner because of habits, the longer you'll pay for those, and you may not ever be able to get from behind those habits. So let me say this. In 2022, I was hit by an 18-wheeler. And at the time, I had a six-figure job, and I'd been working in six-figure roles for, at that point, over a decade. And I didn't know how wealthy I was until that happened. And I'll explain why. Okay, I'm not talking about wealth just in the term of just stacks of cash, right? We live in an economy in the States where idiots flash cash like it's a big deal, buy all this extremely extravagant jewelry and cars and all those things. And at the end of the day, they end up broke. And if you need proof of that, just look on YouTube and see how many times you see influencers and athletes and actors and all these people who are now broke and begging for money and doing stupid stuff because people will send them $10 on live streams, etc. When I talk about wealth, or when I talk about being rich, it means something very specific to me. It may mean something different to you. So, for an example, let me give you the basis of where I'm coming from. To be rich in my mind is to be able to do what I want with my time. One of the best ways I've ever heard it said is, I want to do what I want, when I want, with whomever I want, for as long as I want. That in itself is rich. But the other piece that I heard that's extremely well explained, or the best definition, in my mind, being wealthy is being free. So rich equals freedom. And so this is what I'll say to you. If you're a young person between the ages of 15 and 25, and you may say, Ben, that's a huge difference. Yes, it is a huge different age gap, but here's the point that I'll make. The mistakes you make between the ages of 15 and 25 will decide how you live your life for the rest of your life. So, if you get in relationships where you're put in harm's way, if you're putting other people before yourself, if you're creating a bunch of debt and everything before you get out of the gate, whatever those things are, that puts you in a more difficult position to where you have to pay bills for the rest of your life. So let me explain. So when you're a young person, if you're lucky enough to be raised in a home with two parents or one parent that pay your bills so you don't have to worry about rent or groceries or all that, and you can stay in that situation until you graduate college or from a trade school or something like that, then you have a golden opportunity to be extraordinarily wealthy in your lifetime if you want it. But you have to want it. And it has to be one of your primary goals, okay? So after your personal salvation, there is nothing more important for each individual than their personal freedom, okay? And that's what I believe. You may believe something different, but for me, it's salvation first, freedom second, everything else comes after that. Okay, because even your family and friends, you're going to be a better part of a family if you are free, especially if you're financially free. Then you can help people when you want to or when you choose to, and you can help strangers when you want to and when you choose to if you're extraordinarily well off. But the reason I said I realized how wealthy I was because I was not able to work for 2 years after that wreck, and I'm still in a diminished capacity to this day. And here's the point that I want to make. When you work in America, you pay into a Social Security system from the time you work. For me, that was a very young age, okay? And when you do that, you're paying into Social Security as well. They have a document that shows how much you've earned every year of your life since you started paying taxes and started getting a paycheck. So you can tell very quickly how you line up to where you were prior and how the years of your life have totaled up to income, etc. So what I did was I've worked my entire life, so I tried to keep my bills small. And what that means is I have vehicles for an extraordinarily long period of time. I wear clothes for years, sometimes decades. I have a pair of boots that I bought in 1995. Okay, that may be older than a lot of you who are alive. That's the point that I want to make is if you buy good quality stuff and you keep it for a long time, you end up making your money back many times over because you're not buying other things multiple times. And when it comes to vehicles, if you buy a reasonable vehicle and you keep it for a long time and you take care of it through maintenance, etc., it will last you a long time. And then you're not making a monthly payment. The modern world runs on monthly payments now. You can even finance fast food these days, which is ridiculous. The more debt you have, the more things you finance, the more enslaved you are, okay? The Bible even says that. It says a wise man owes no one, right? So you don't want to owe anyone anything because the more you owe, the more a slave you are to the things you own. There was a song in the 90s that sung about the more you own, owns you, right? So what I want to make the point of this video to be is you have to understand that, one, money is a game, okay? And in America, the richest people in the world, the majority live in the United States, all right? Those people that are extraordinarily wealthy don't want you to join that club. You have to forcibly take your space if that's what you want to focus on. So my point, though, is I don't want to join some multi-millionaires club or multi-billionaires club. I have no interest. I just want to be free. I don't want a mansion. I want this. My house makes me extraordinarily happy because it is paid off. It is mine. I own it. Now, granted, I have to pay property taxes every year, which is absolute theft, and it should absolutely be illegal. But for some reason, that's still something that proliferates in the United States, is we have to pay property taxes. By having to pay property taxes, guys, if you don't pay them, ultimately what that means is the government can take your house from you, which means you truly own nothing. Right? So that should be done away with. It was supposed to be a temporary answer at one point, just like income tax. Income tax was supposed to be a temporary thing to help us fund a world war. But as you see, they never went away. Right? So the point is, any new tax, any new cost that the government can come up with, they will. The new thing is, Trump wants his ballroom because underneath that, he wants a data center built, which these things will be to collect data on all of us as citizens, right? We're the target of our government now. They want to collect data on us all. It's not enough that we pay all this money to them and do all these things through taxes that they just turn around and give to other countries because it's just free money to them, right? At the end of the day, these are the things that you're going to be combating your entire life. These are the things that are going to try to put you and your families in harm's way because you have to pay these taxes, you have to pay these things. They're not going to put you and your family first. So that's why you really need to talk about wealth and you really need to talk about money. You really need to come up with what your definition of wealth is. And if you want to be rich and you want to listen to people who are, then you need to determine what that is. So if you listen to an athlete and you listen to one of these online people who acts like they're extraordinarily wealthy, you have to look at the tenure of wealth in those industries. So the average athlete that's a professional athlete will be a professional athlete for less than 4 years. Okay? So let's say they earn $4 million in that 4-year period of time. It's just $1 million a year. And that's got to last them for the rest of their life. Well, that'd be great if they're only living 4 more years. But if they're in their 20s as a pro athlete, if they live to be 80 or 100, which a lot of people in this country still do, that money's going to get real small over that period of time. And also you got to think too, if it's income, you're going to lose 30 to 40% of it to taxes. So it's not really $4 million, right? It's between $2 and $3 million, depending on what taxes you pay and what kind of write-offs you get yourself, et cetera, et cetera. So I say all this because If you are deliberate about how you earn your income, if you're deliberate about how you live your life and how you want to live your life, then you can have an impact there. So I'm saying this to these 15 to 25-year-olds because here's what I want you to hear. The mistakes you make during that period of time are going to impact your earnings for the rest of your life. The decisions you make in that period of time are going to impact your earnings for the rest of your life. So if you do what you should do and you go through high school and then you go through some college program or tech program where you earn some degree that's going to put you in a higher pay bracket, a legitimate something useful, not some degree just to say you have a degree. Underwater basket weaving is my favorite thing to say because degrees these days, people get stuff that are absolutely useless. They should know that. And in picking a degree, you should know which profession you want to get into. I tell everyone, if you don't have a clue what degree you want, get a business degree or get a finance degree. Because no matter what you get into, a business degree and a finance degree will help you in those things. And if you get really good at business and finance, then ultimately, and let's say you really like the gun industry or you really like guns, then one day you can use your business experience and your finance experience to get you into the gun business, to work as a CFO or something like that for a gun company or work in the business department of a gun company. Or if you like veterinary medicine, you can be a business person and help run a vet clinic or run a vet office. The point is, those things translate across all businesses because all businesses have to deal with bookkeeping, have to deal with paying taxes, have to deal with finances and payroll, etc. So if you have those backgrounds, it is useful across a whole net of businesses. Of course, they're making new softwares every year that do a good portion of these demands, but it still takes a skilled person to police those items and use them effectively. So with all that being said, 1 to 25, what you do educationally during that period of time is most likely the education you're going to get for your lifetime. Now, a lot of people go back and get degrees. There's a lot of people who stretch degrees out for a long period of time. But the point is, if you do it in that time period, then you work on a bell curve so you can earn more, earn more, earn more. So what I would say to you is the faster you can buy a place that is your own home, where you're paying a mortgage or paying it off to give you freedom from rent at some point or freedom from a mortgage at some point, I would make that a top priority because the biggest bill people pay each month is rent or mortgage. Okay, so if you can do that sooner than later, buy a place, even if you buy land with a small house on it, and you pay that off in your 20s, or you pay that off in your 30s because you're throwing extra money to it, you're not burning all that money on rent, right? You're spending it on a house that's yours. You can then build that house up or move in a bigger house or do something else. A mobile home on land appreciates, and then you can get to the point where you build your own home on that place and sell the mobile home for a profit or to pay down the mortgage on the home you just built or whatever it may be. That will yield you freedom quicker because the longer you pay rent, the longer you're burning money, and that's the biggest bill that most people pay each month. So a few things daily habit-wise that will help you out if you're starting to think about money will be to manage your finances and the fact that you check your accounts daily and weekly sit down to look at it and see what you're spending. So you want to review your spending. The next thing you want to do is track your expenses. And for each month, you should know how much money you have to earn to pay your expenses each month. And then have your grocery bill and a gas bill in there so you know that that's included and you know what your expenses are. And then you should know what you should be able to save each month or invest each month. So if we talk about a mortgage, if you buy a house and you get a mortgage, I suggest that you get a mortgage, and I was in the mortgage business for 10 years. I suggest that you get a mortgage that is a 30-year fixed mortgage because that's the lowest payment and it's a fixed interest rate for the longest period you want to borrow. Now they're doing 50-year mortgages. Don't do that. You'll never be free unless you do exactly this and pay it off sooner. But a 30-year mortgage should be sufficient. Buy something that's within your means or below your means so you can pay it off rapidly. The goal should be to pay a mortgage off in 10 years. That should be everyone's goal. Everyone's goal should be, I'm going to buy a house that I can pay off in 10 years. Okay? And then if you could pay it off sooner, then pay it off sooner. If you get a bonus each year, or you get a tax return each year, take that and throw it at the mortgage. Do it every year, and you'll end up paying your house off very quickly. Once you do that, every appreciation that your house takes is an asset. That's cash in your pocket, right? In home equity that you want to leave there. You want that to be freedom. Then if you get older and you get to the point where you can't handle the property, or you can't handle the place, and you want to downsize, you can sell your property and most likely have enough not only to buy a small place or buy a condo or something that you want to do that does not have an HOA. We've talked about it in other videos. But you can buy something smaller so your life is small, you don't have to do things, and in your older age have less expenses with owning a larger house or a larger property in that time, if that's your expectation. But the idea is you want to buy a place as soon as possible. You want to pay it off as soon as possible. And that should be what you're thinking from 15 to 25. That's right. From 15 to 25, you want to be thinking that way because you want to understand what wealth is. And if you think about it, if salvation is number one and freedom is number two, then wealth to you should be freedom. And then if you can successfully pay your place off in your 20s, by the time you're in your early 30s, which is unheard of these days. That used to happen, but it's unheard of these days. But if you're able to do that, and you live your life as an adult when you're earning more money than you ever earned before, so in your mid-30s to your mid-40s, when you're planning to have a family, have kids, do all that, now your money's not going to rent or mortgage, it's able to go to kids or able to go to your family, which is what you want to do. So if you're focusing on these as goals and you have short-term and long-term goals, and if yours line up like this, great. If they don't, then make it line up the way it makes sense for you. And you want to make one good small choice every day. Every day you just want to make good choices. Those choices effectively become habits, and that's what's going to give you freedom in the long run. So when you start making good money, what you want to do is you want to focus more on quality instead of quantity. So as you get to where you're making more money, you want to buy less things. So clothes is a good example. You want to buy fewer items, but higher quality. Because if you have a house with a good closet and everything else, you may wear the same clothes for a decade. This nonsense where people act like they wear things one time and then they can't wear it again, that is absolutely absurd. And if you live that way, you deserve to be broke. And all of those people that do that are broke. You may believe that they're not. Give it a minute. You will be able to find out very soon online that they are broke as a joke. The next thing you want to do if you're making good money is replace junk food with clean, consistent meals. I would suggest meal prep. The best I've ever done it. I cooked every Sunday. On Sunday, I would grill out in my backyard to cook what I was going to eat for the week. And that was the best thing I ever did because I would pack lunches, etc. It saved me money. Monster. It saved me money. But in the long run, it kept me healthier too. So I wasn't eating as much processed products. I wasn't doing those type things. Sugar will kill you. That's sugar-free Monster. It's still a bad spend buying Monsters, but at the end of the day, sugar is poison. So if you start this stuff where you're buying less junk food, you're eating clean, consistent meals, that will give you better health, which means in your 50s, 60s, 70s, when your body starts to decline, you should be healthier because you've eaten healthier throughout your lifetime. Next thing is when you start making money, you can do things like pay people to handle routine chores. Some people look at that like they're looking down your nose at something. It's not. People need work. People need to help where they can. If you hire someone to clean your house, vacuum your house, do that stuff once a week where you don't have to so you can do other things, or so when you come home you're not tired and you're doing that on top of being that. Now, everybody should be able to handle the house, clean their house, vacuum their house. That's goes without saying. But people don't frown on taking their clothes to a dry cleaner. Yet they'll frown on hiring somebody to vacuum and clean their house, which helps them keep themselves healthy and strong, right? They'll frown on that or frown on paying somebody to iron your clothes at your house and do those type things, which is something that people used to do all the time. It used to be how people in small neighborhoods or small communities made money. Some would go and cook, and some still to this day cook meals once a week for people and fill up their fridge in their own kitchen, and that's what they do for a living. There's tons of things you can do like that to help yourself out and help other people out when you're paying someone to handle routine chores so you don't have to. The next one I would suggest doing as soon as you can, and doing it once every 10 years, is upgrade your mattress and sleep setup. I bought a new mattress recently, and I'll tell you, it helped me from getting from 3 hours of sleep tonight to 6 hours of sleep. I told you guys that I was injured, and that's been the hardest thing, is getting rest. A new mattress does wonders for that, right? So buy one that's specific to how you sleep and gives you that proper support. Do it within reason. When I was buying a mattress, I was looking online. My expectation now is between $500 and $700 with their discounts, right? They had mattresses out there for $3,000 to $6,000. I don't understand why anybody would pay that much for a mattress. I don't think you finance furniture. I don't think you finance mattresses. I buy mattresses new, and I try to keep it under $1,000. That's always been my rule. Furniture, I'll buy used. I'm not going to finance furniture. So I suggest the same thing to you, is the more things you finance, the more monthly bills you're creating for yourself. So don't finance things. Pay your credit card off every month. If you can't pay it off every month, don't use it on all those things. Stop buying all those things. Start carrying cash. If you carry cash, you realize how much you actually spend each month, and you'll start to spend less, because cash means more to people than just running a card. When people just run a card all the time, it's just like it's fake numbers. It's not real money, and you can get into a bad spending habit or bad spending habits doing that. So the next thing, the suggestion here, is to spend money on experiences, not random purchases. I suggest that too. That's a good idea. But at the end of the day, if you purchase books, or you purchase video games, or you purchase DVDs and CDs, because that will keep you entertained without having to have all these subscriptions to things, then do that. If you buy a DVD, you can watch it multiple times. When you have bad weather, it still works. When you have all these subscriptions, they don't work all the time. And also, movies are not that great anymore. So you can wait until it comes out on DVD, and people are always selling DVDs for next to nothing, because most people are moving away from those platforms. I think it's stupid. I think we peaked with CDs and DVDs. I think that was the pinnacle of entertainment in the world. This digital stuff is just so people can track what you're watching and what you're doing all the time. It's a bad idea. But the more subscriptions, the more monthly bills you set up for yourself, the more money you have to make each month to pay that stuff off, and then have money to pay yourself, meaning savings that you're putting away. So that's why you want to buy your house and pay off your mortgage right away, because then you're not paying rent. You're not doing those things, so you have money, which equals freedom. Learn investing and get a better financial advisor. I would say, if you don't know finance, if you don't have a financial advisor, or if you don't have the money or the time to invest into that, then start learning yourself. It's very simple. If you have money in a savings account, it's not going to earn. Savings accounts don't pay squat these days. So you want to save up to a certain point. You want to keep so much in there to be your rainy day or emergency fund, and then the difference that you've gained, invest that. You want to do that, let's say, once a quarter. If you do that once a quarter, then you're investing as much as you can every year, which one day will hopefully earn you dividends, okay? And those dividends will equal freedom in the future. So everything that we're talking about here buys you more freedom in the future. So the last thing on this list, it says, reduce your time that you spend with low ambition circles and increase your time with driven people. I would say that's probably one of the strongest suggestions in this, is the more time you spend with people who think that flashy is rich, the more time you spend with people who think that a fancy car matters, the more time you spend with those types of people, the more time you're going to spend spending your own money, as opposed to thinking about earning your own freedom. And I say that because if you start out in this life where you don't have to worry about bills ever, and you don't have to think about putting a roof over your head or putting food on your table and those type things, if that's not something you have to concern yourself with, then great. The majority of us at some point are going to have a realization that we're alone in this world and we have to pay our own way. And so if you are one of those people that's going to have that realization at some point, this is for you. I would say the best lesson I've learned in the last 3 years is that even the programs you've paid into, they're not going to help you when you need them. So Social Security, for example, I've paid into my entire life. In the 2 years where I could earn no income because my body was broken, I was not able to get Social Security to pay me a single payment, not one. The waiting period when you put in your first application is between 200 and 300 days. If there's anything that they don't like on that, they don't schedule you an appointment. If you finally get your appointment scheduled and you get through the whole thing and answer all the questions and everything goes well, then you've got another 200 to 300 days you have to wait. It is absolutely absurd. It's just like anything else that the government deals with. It's absolutely highway robbery. Now, at the end of the day, will those funds be paid out? Yes, they absolutely will. But if you don't have money put away, if you don't have your house paid off, if you don't have the ability to do those things, then guess what? You lose everything in the meantime because nobody else is going to pay your mortgage. Nobody else is going to pay your bills, right? So if you can't get that, then what are you going to do? And that's the one thing that we do. We take our health for granted. We think we're going to be able to earn always, right? That's not the way it is. So you need to act like every paycheck's going to be your last paycheck. You need to put as much away as you can every single paycheck. And if you use $10,000 as an example, they say have 2 to 5 months put away in savings to pay your expenses. So if your bills cost you $2,000 a month, then $10,000 is where you want to be because that's 5 months worth of expenses. So if you can put $10K away and keep that in a savings account that hopefully earns 4 to 6% because that's the highest that they'll earn these days, then every $100 you get above that, you let it add up to $2 or $3 grand, and then you invest that in some stock that ultimately is going to pay dividends generally the following year. If you do that, then each month after that year, you're going to be earning extra income monthly, right? It's just going to allow you to save more and continue to do that. Then, if you're doing that, you may earn your dividends or get your dividends up to the point where they're paying you a couple grand a month. And so then if something happens and you lose your job, not only do you have 5 months put away in that rainy day or emergency fund, but you also have whatever dividends that you get monthly as well. And so if you're racing to pay off things so you own them and not have to continue to pay a payment on them, which now that's owning them, you still have to pay taxes on them, right? There was a period of time where everything wasn't taxed like that. And so when you bought something, it was yours. And so all you had to do was insure it if you chose to insure it. But you would continue to make your payments and those type things until you paid it off. So the point of the video is this. I've been lucky because God's blessed me to see opportunity when I've seen it. I've been good at earning my whole life. And because I was able to do those things when I was broken, I was able to survive it without a problem because nothing that was supposed to be there to help me did. Had I not had my financial independence, my financial freedom, I would have lost everything I owned. And what that means is, unfortunately, everybody else that goes through these situations, if they didn't set themselves up like I did, then they lost everything. And I'm in the insurance business now, believe me. I hear stories every day where people have lost everything because they didn't do something as simple as have life insurance, which makes no sense. I sell life insurance. You can get it for cheap. And you have insurances that are a little more expensive that actually replace your annual income, which is cheap when you compare it to not having any income at all. It's insane, the things that are out there that can help you secure yourself, but everyone just thinks this will never happen to me. It'll never happen to me. So they don't buy those products. They don't put money away. They live hand to fist. They let everything they do in life be rented. So at some point, if their income stops, guess what? They owe everybody and no one's got them. So here's the suggestion I'm making in this video. This is why I wanted to talk about money and wealth. If you've got your salvation handled, the next thing you should be trying to do is get financially free. There are 2 great books that I've read in the last 10 years on the subject. I've talked about them before. One is Tony Robbins' Money. It talks about mastering the game. This is a very good book. Whatever you think about Tony Robbins, this is still a very good book. The guy is a billionaire. He did come up from nothing, so that is something. He did a lot of talks and things in the 80s and 90s, and that made him very popular, and he's run businesses so successfully for the last 20 years that that's even made him in even higher demand. But that's a pretty great book. Another one is The Psychology of Money. I would suggest that everyone reads this book. I think this should be mandatory reading in high school. When you go through this book, it talks about a few things that stand out. And one of the biggest things is what you think wealth is. So that's why you have to determine what that definition is in your book as soon as possible, right? For me, it was always freedom. I want to own my own spot, my own piece of dirt, so nobody can ever run me off of it. So when I get to my property and I have a gate and I get inside my gate and close that gate, I can lay down right there on the ground if I wanted to and nobody could say a thing. It's mine. Nobody has an opinion but me. I can be perfectly me here. Why? Because it's mine. Nobody else has an opinion. That's why I tell people don't buy anything that's got a homeowners association or any of that nonsense, because that is just one more bit of freedom you're giving away. Why would you want to buy a place and then have someone else have an opinion on what you should do with it? It's absurd. Buy a place with no homeowners association. Buy a place that is truly yours so you can understand the freedom of having a place where you belong, period, right? Nobody can say anything about it. It's yours. Nobody can come there and have any expectation of changing your opinion. You get to have your opinions perfectly there where you live, right? And if you pay it off and you're mortgage free and you can do anything with that property, you can build a house for a family member that you care for. You can give a piece to another family member if they want to build a house next to you. You get your family where everyone's close, and then you get to celebrate your holidays with the people that matter the most, so you can have the influence on them and their kids to say, hey, this is what wealth is. And you can help them learn from your mistakes so they don't have to do it on their own. They don't have to learn from their own mistakes. They don't have to struggle, right? They don't have to go through what you went through. But all this has to start from a picture of what you think wealth is. So do I consider myself wealthy in this lifetime? Yes, very much. I am free. I don't have any doubt. When I close my eyes at night, I do it very easily with the new mattress that's great, right? Because my salvation is taken care of, my wealth is taken care of, my situation is paid for, right? And the government didn't do anything to help me, because all they did was take my money. They didn't give me what I paid into when I needed it, right? They just put it on hold. But I was able to live through that because of what I had done with intent prior to that. So if you said, all right, Ben, you sound pretty smart. Tell me what I should do. If you're 18 years old, I say get the best degree you can get that suggests the highest earnings. Did I say do what you're passionate about? No. Did I say do what brings you joy? No. I said get the best degree you can get that can give you the highest earnings. This is why. The next 5 years is going to suck anyway. You're going to work all the time. It's going to be your entire life. Do that. And then you can start looking into how your degree, what you've done for the last 5 years, how you can do that in a business that you enjoy or for an entity that you like. And then you get to do these things about passion and all that stuff. In the beginning, it should be a numbers game. It should be, how can I get out into the world and swing the hardest, the fastest I can, so I can buy my place and pay it off the fastest I can. If you could do that, then you've done great and you're going to win the game. Because in the end, it's all a money game. Everybody wants to keep it all, right? And you're here just for 100 years tops. So do you want to work until you're 72 years old like a slave and not be able to do anything but 2 weeks a year if you're on your vacation time? Is that what you want to do? Or do you want to be free by your 30s, have your mortgage paid off? Work for 6 years after you pay your mortgage off and put 100% of that into the bank and into investments to pay you dividends. And then you don't have to work anymore. Because now you're making $6,000 a month or $10,000 a month or $12,000 a month because you're able to put $300,000 or $400,000 in an account in a 6-year period of time or 7-year period of time, however long it takes. And then that pays back $30,000 a year plus in dividends. So now guess what? You don't have to work anymore. You're getting dividends, right? That pays your bills. But that's why you keep your bills small. So that's what I'd say to you. Buy a vehicle that makes sense. I have a personal rule. I don't spend more than 30 grand on a vehicle. The most I've ever spent was 27.5, right? I've got a truck out there that I've owned for 24 years. It's been mine for that long, and it still runs. It's got 356,000 miles on it. I've got another one that I bought that is 13 years old now, and it's got 140,000 miles on it. It's my daily driver, right? The AC works. It's great. But one of the best things I'll tell you is don't ever buy a new vehicle. Buy used vehicles only, and buy it from a certified place with a clear title. If you buy it from a certified place with a clear title and a clear Carfax, then you know that car has never been damaged, the title's never been totaled out or anything like that, so you've got a good vehicle, and it should last you 10 to 20 years. If you take care of it, it'll last you 20 years. Now, is that sexy? Maybe not. But at the end of the day, freedom is bigger than having the sexiest vehicle on the block. As long as it keeps you and your family safe, I believe in Fords. A Ford truck saved my life. I'd be dead if I wasn't driving a Ford truck in that wreck that I told you about where that 18-wheeler hit me. That guy shouldn't have been on the road. In the court case, we saw that he actually hit another person before that court case happened. So this guy just hits people on the road and was able to keep his license. It's ridiculous. But at the end of the day, if I wasn't driving that Ford truck, me and the family members with me would have been killed in that wreck. Instead, the truck did exactly what it was supposed to do, and it saved us. And so now I only drive Ford trucks. But the one that I've had for over 20 years, that's also a Ford truck. They last forever. If you do the maintenance on them, they'll take care of you forever. Now, yes, there's lemons, and yes, there's issues every once in a while, but that's my suggestion. You buy a domestic vehicle, you pay it off quickly, you buy for cash if you can, always buy used, never buy new. On a house, I suggest the same thing. Buy a house that's 10 to 20 years old, because if you do, you're not going to get this cheap construction that's new, where they're trying to slap houses together as quick as they can that's just junk. Get an older house, and you'll be happy. That's the way I would suggest those things. And if you can do that and get to freedom quickly, then you will truly be wealthy. That's my opinion on it. Just want to talk about that today because I was asked these questions by a young person, and I wanted to give that back. If you're outside the ages of 25 to 35 and you don't own your house, you haven't paid off your mortgage yet, that's okay. Try to pay off your mortgage as quickly as possible. Do whatever you can to sell assets here and there to help throw extra payments at it, to get it knocked down to a point that's manageable so then you can pay it off as quickly as possible. That should be your goal. And the sooner you get it paid off, so let's say you pay it off in your 40s or you pay it off in your 50s. Guess what? Now you're free and you don't have to work till you're 72. Right? Now you can figure out something in your 50s so you can be free 22 years sooner than everyone else is going to be based on the retirement age in the United States. That's the point. And at the end of the day, if you're starting to put away all the extra money and you're starting to get paid dividends 2 years later, 3 years later, etc., then you don't have to work. You can have that freedom and you can have that life to be free like you want to be. But also then you have plenty to hand down to your kids if that's something you want to do. So they can start out being easier, having it easier, better than you do. Also, if you have a big piece of property, you can give them a little chunk of property they can put a house on. They don't have to worry about buying a place for $400,000 or $500,000. The reason people can't afford the American dream anymore is because they're financing everything and nobody else is looking out for them. So where it used to be your parents would give you a piece of land to put a house on, or your parents would give you a house, that doesn't happen anymore in America. And everyone's paying rent because they want to get free and clear of everyone as quickly as they can, and they want to be on their own, yada, yada, yada. That's not the way we were supposed to grow up, guys. And 2 generations ago, people stayed at home until they were ready to build their own place. My grandparents lived above my great-grandparents' store. They worked in my great-grandparents' store till they were both 31. My grandmother and grandfather were the same age. When they were 31, they bought their place for cash, cut the trees on it, made the boards out of the trees, and built their own house there, all free and clear, because they stayed and worked, stayed and lived above their parents' store, and did that until they were 31. So by the time they were 32, they had their own piece of property that was paid off and their own house that was paid off, free and clear, right? They didn't move away at 17 or 18 to try to prove themselves to the world. They didn't have to do that. They were able to start that way. That's the point. That's why now in America, nobody can afford to do anything, because everybody is on this nomadic journey where they think they have to go elsewhere. And believe me, I left home at 17 myself. I moved across the country multiple times. I did all of that. But then I got a degree where that was useful. And then I traveled for that job and did those jobs and became the best at turning businesses around, and then traveled all over the country doing that for a decade. And that paid huge money. So that put me in a position to be even better off than what I was before. So you can gamble on some of these decisions, but at the end of the day, if you can then take your family and give them a piece of property so they can build with you and don't have to do it on their own, then they're not paying $500,000 for a house, right? You can get a trailer for 40 grand and put it on 2 acres. The hookups for electric and water and septic cost about 4 grand. Maybe 6. So you can give them a piece of property for $36,000. They can have a house and live there if you do it right. 36 grand. They can pay that off pretty quickly. If they want to build a house one day on that piece of property, great. And then they can sell that mobile home they bought for whatever when that time comes, if they've paid it off. Right? So then they can have their dream house right there where they've always lived. So home still gets to be home. That's the point. It doesn't have to be done a difficult way. Everybody doesn't have to have a $500,000 house. It's ridiculous. But the point in this country is you can still own and earn and do those things, but you got to do it right by the old school rules. The issue today is everything is these new school rules where you rent everything and own nothing. If families do that and all the kids in the family do that, then all you do is guarantee that everyone is poor. And then when bad things happen, no one can help anyone, right? That's why everyone's broke. That's why no one can afford anything. So the best thing a family can do is stick together and build together. That's the way it's supposed to be. But unfortunately, the generation that came before ours, I'm Gen X, the baby boomers, were very greedy. The greediest generation ever in American history. They consumed everything. It changed everything for their kids and their grandchildren, which is what I am. It changed everything because they consumed everything and passed nothing down, even though everything was given to them. It's ridiculous. It changed the lifestyle in the United States, and it's why this generation now, why this period of time is so difficult on Americans. It's because of those that came before. They were greedy and consumed everything. The way we turn that around, guys, the way we change that is do exactly what I'm saying. Define what wealth is and get after it in a wealthy way, meaning own your stuff, own your spot. Yes, until we get done with property taxes and get that off of us, you're still going to have to deal with that every year. But if you own your place and not paying a mortgage payment and your family lives with you and they're not paying rents, that's more income that can buy more and have greater purchasing power for the family and ultimately give the family freedom. Right? And here's the thing. If you get your freedom and your house is paid off and then you work your job the same way as you did before for a decade and you can put 75% of what you earn away and keep that rainy day fund, that emergency fund of $10,000, and every time you get to another 10, you invest it, and you do that over and over, guys, even if you earn $36,000 a year, that still suggests that you could put 20 grand away a year using that alone. So something to think about. Just got that on my mind today as a conversation I had with a young person, and it really was a good conversation. I think this young person has a great head on their shoulders, and I think they're going to be wealthy too. I think they're going to be free at some point in their 30s because the land they're looking for 4 acres that's already got the hookups. They're going to put a mobile home there that they can buy cash. So they're not going to have rent. They're not going to have a house payment. And right now they're paying $1,000 a month in rent. So when they do this, they'll be able to save $12,000 a year right now, changing nothing else. And so at $12,000 a year, and they have savings already of $5 grand. So if they put 10 grand away, then they're still going to invest $2,000 this year. Next year, they'll be able to invest $12,000. The year after that's their whole income. You see how it grows so quickly? Then it's exponential because they're living cheap, not poor, cheap. They're being frugal. Even though they have the money to go out and buy a big house in 2 years or 3 years, they're not going to do that because they want to be free. Their goal is that by their mid-40s, they will be mortgage free for long enough that they can stop working completely. I think that's a wonderful idea. And we put a plan down, put a pen to paper, and actually was able to show them how to do that based on exactly what they're doing right now, which they're going to get raises, right? They're going to get overtime. There's going to be more money that they get paid. They're going to have higher paying job opportunities. There may be a period of joblessness where they can earn income, et cetera, et cetera. But these two people are hardworking folks. So at the end of the day, their plan's going to work out because they're doing things in a right way. So hopefully this helps you. Hopefully this gives you some ideas. The biggest thing we have to do is stop lying to ourselves. Okay? We don't need the newest of everything. I think I've owned this shirt for 10 years. I've probably owned these pants for longer. I don't wear them out, right? I mean, it doesn't make my clothes look good. They look fine. I don't buy brand names. Brand names are for suckers. If I buy something that has a brand name in it, what I do is I turn around and sell it on Marketplace because I bought it by accident. It was in a lot of stuff that I bought. So I do that to buy and sell. So then I'll turn around and sell this ridiculous thing for some stupid price. And you know what? Somebody pays it. Somebody buys it every time. And I laugh all the way to the bank. Because I don't wear that brand. I don't carry that, whatever it is, right? I just think that's something to think about. Buy things of quality, but be frugal. And don't make your life about spending. You know, you don't take anything with you when you die. So, if you think about it that way, maybe you can focus on freedom a little bit more than you can on stuff. That's my 2 cents, or 46 minutes worth of it, right? If you like information like this and subjects such as these, please like, please subscribe. If you think somebody might learn something from this, please share it to them, or with them rather, and we'll do some more on the subject soon. I'm Ben. Be good.